Hey, I intend to share a very interesting illustration with you real quickly from the Bible. Now, Jesus in the Bible book of Luke chapter 14 verses 22 was speaking with his disciples, and he said, which of you, he shared with them this illustration. He said, which of you would want to build a tower? That before you go about building a tower, you do not first of all stop, sit down and calculate to see if you have what it takes to complete the project. Now, that struck me. It struck me so beautifully because that's exactly what I want to talk about today. So the title of this video is Start with the End. Now, why this seems like common sense, what Jesus said. For instance, you want to travel from point A to point B, you plan. You ask yourself, how long is the journey? How much do I need to set aside? If I'm driving, how do I need to fuel my car at a certain point in time? So we do all of these plannings. You want to study a degree, you want to study medicine, you want to study law. You ask yourself, which certifications and which kind of education do I need to have, preliminary education, before I get the degree of being a doctor? So we plan all of these things through, and at each point in time, we check to see where we are at. Are we close to achieving that dream of being a doctor? If not, if you are failing, for instance, in your preliminary education, you know that you are very far from from achieving that dream. So the point is, if we plan for preliminary things like education, do we plan for our own lives as well? Now, this is the very difficult part. You see, if you decide to plan, just like that project which we talked about, the building of the tower, if you plan with the end in mind, it means that you are agreeing that life, like building of a tower, is a project. A project has a start date and an end date. And this is the difficult part, because this is a very difficult conversation to have. A lot of people avoid it completely. Why? Because of the components of the end, death. Now, if you've been listening to my videos, I have been talking about the fact that death is nothing to be afraid of. It's only to be respected, because it's a great teacher. It actually allows us to see things clearly and to frame or reframe our priorities in life. Now, let me explain. I'll use my own example. Now, I live my life with the end in mind. I know research has shown that the average life expectancy for an African male is 61. That of a female is 64. So, if I was born in 20th of May 1985, that is my start date. Now, at a distant point in time, not too distant, of course, it's my end date. I can live beyond 61, yes, with the advancement of technology, good food, health, exercise, and all of that. I can live longer. Anytime aside 61 is borrowed years, right? It's like extra time in soccer or football. But again, I'm not really interested in living very long. I'm not interested in the quantity of my life. I'm interested in the quality of my life. Jesus lived only 33 years, and in that 33, he was able to impact over 2 billion people even till date, with his teachings, with his lifestyle. Now the question is, what is the quality of your own life? Before we start talking about the quality of your own life, let's look at this example. My example, for instance, how do I reprioritize my view, bearing in mind or taking in mind the end, putting in mind the end of this project, which is my life? I use techniques like vision boarding. I actually take pictures all over the internet to say, okay, where do I want to be? If I understand that, okay, I am 34 at the moment, and if I should die by 61, taking into consideration that anything can happen, of course, I could be hit on the stroke after making this video, and I could die, which is fine. But let's say none of that does happen, and I live till 61. If I know I'm going to live for that long, I want to say, how do I add value? What are the things that are important to me? What do I intend to achieve? What are the things that are important to me that when I'm dying in my deathbed, I'm thinking and I'm like, oh, I'm excited because I was able to achieve these things. So I break them down. I create a vision. I create a dream or a vision board to set my priorities and say, this is where I want to be in 20 years. This is where I want to be in 10 years. This is where I want to be in 5 years. This is where I want to be in 3 years. And this is where I want to be in 1 month. And then I track. So I have these large objectives, and I have this large goal, and I have objectives to help me track myself. Am I heading in that direction? Are things going right? Take into consideration that things might meander. As long as you have the end in mind, how you get there doesn't necessarily matter. Because at each point in time when you veer off course, because you are tracking it, you return the ship back to this direction. I use the analogy of a ship to actually describe how life is. Now, most people, they do not plan with the end in mind, hence they are afraid. It's like a ship, for instance, in the ocean without an engine. So without an engine, tell me, how would that boat or that ship be able to get from point A to point B? It's impossible. So your vision or your goals or your dreams are your engine. They drive you in the direction you need to go. But you have to have a direction. You have to have a start point and an end point. If you do not have it, the ship would actually just wander in the ocean aimlessly. And that's how most people are living their lives, aimlessly. No goal, no direction, no vision. So here is what I encourage you to do. What do you want to achieve at the end? Think about it and plan backwards. Live your life backwards. Come back. Now, by living your life backwards, it allows you to frame your priorities. It allows you to see things clearly. It allows you to build meaningful relationships. It allows you to impact the communities you live in. Because it's not the money that you have in your accounts that counts. It's not the cars, the jewelry, the clothes you wear that counts. Because all of us eventually are dust, mere dust. But it is the value of what you bring to the world. Think about it and do something about it. Start with the end in mind. Do not be afraid of death. It's only there to help you prioritize, help you understand that if you live forever, you will say, man, why do I bother? Why do I have to do anything? Well, now you have an end. Plan with that in mind and go from there. I'd love to say more, but again, I don't want to bore you. Till we meet again, take good care, guys.